One of the most striking protests devised by women for the purpose of showing her rejection of the conditions under which our mothers lived. It is evidently the mission of the Woman's Bible to exalt and dignify women.
Ooh.
It's a nice one. Morning.
Exaltation.
The Morning, London, England.
Oh, progressive.
Progressive. Chicago Post had a nice one, too.
Tell it.
The attack of the new women on the King James Bible will be observed with interest where it does not alarm. But let the Woman's Bible and the truth prevail. It may be that Lot himself was turned into a pillar of salt. Chicago Post.
Ooh, some cool words coming out of the Windy City.
The Windy.
Did you see this quote? Oh, rather give me commentators plain, who with no deep researches vex the brain, who from the dark and doubtful love to run and hold their glimmering tapers to the sun. What the fuck does that mean? It says the parish register. I feel like we should know this stuff. But... All right, let me just...
I like making those noises.
We're like,
girl.
Okay.
The lady commentators are not wanting in sense of humor, the quality in which the biblical critics of the male sex are usually unhappily deficient. There is much that is very funny and very interesting in this new commentary upon the Bible. The Daily Chronicle, London, England.
Wait, I'm loving that there are comments about how it's funny because we did find it.
It is
So
funny.
is it supposed to be funny?
They're pissed, so they're saying it like you're jackasses, so it's like a sarcastic funny, right? It's a sarcasm funny.
It's biting.
It's biting truth.
It's like biting all the apples. What? We're meta. We can start. It's the podcast that Sly Serpent warned you about.
Welcome to Biting All the Apples, where two gals discuss one radical book.
The 1895 bestseller, The Woman's Bible by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I'm Sarah Kaye.
I'm Joanna V.
Today's episode marks a new venture. We're cracking open part 2 of the Women's Bible, subtitle A Classic Feminist Perspective.
Ooh, isn't that lovely?
And things are about to get real. We're talking sonic warfare and woman warriors. Stanton reveals her waspiness. We meet some new feminist contributors to the Women's Bible Project and learn to admire a woman named Deborah. Deborah. All that and even more searing takedowns of the crotchety old patriarchal standards trapped in the book we're told is good. You've got time to buckle up while we read our disclaimers.
Biting All the Apples covers analysis of religious text. Some listeners that are religious out of the need for the illusion of certainty may find the content offensive. Biting All the Apples also discusses the historic text and feminist movements. We recognize that individuals, groups, and alternative movements have been left out of history. We will note that whenever possible. We are open to additional information provided to us in the spirit of expanding knowledge. Please remember that.
Yeah.
Episode 8, we want to hear your thoughts.
We do want to hear your thoughts.
Because
Do
8
you
is
have
great.
thoughts?
Do I have thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you do.
I love this.
We have read those disclaimers 8 times, and I just noticed that we said alternative movements that have been left out of history.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because we just were having a little pre-show chat about history, and it's funny that I'm like, it's left out of history. It's like, whose history?
Yeah.
What am I talking about?
What is history?
What is history?
Who wrote it?
What is life?
Who's getting rid of it? What is life right now?
Yeah, how are things going, Joanna? It's been a minute.
Gosh. Yeah, it has been a minute. I just got back from the seat of our government. That District of Columbia. So I went there and, you feel kind of wrapped in history. And I thought about our Bible a lot of the time.
Did you really?
I did because this is really history, right?
Yeah.
So I went to a wedding in this fabulous place on the Potomac River.
Gorgeous.
Not originally. 2 other people owned it before George Washington owned it.
It didn't exist until George Washington got there.
It did not.
Original.
And I was looking out at that and thinking about our country and where we are. So I was moved to think about the Bible and how things are progressing in our country for women. I don't know if you've noticed. It seems to be going in the wrong direction.
Seems to be going to Gilead. We're like, there we are.
So anyways.
Like, so anyways. So it was
a great trip.
Yeah, it was like, sounds uplifting.
It was it was uplifting because everybody that was there was kind of in the same. I mean, obviously they're not all reading the Women's Bible, but that sense of history and that sense of where we are right now in history was palpable. Yeah. It feels palpable. It's just like it's palpable. And I also like, by the way, we're making we're like touching the invisible palpable.
We're like, it's very palpable. I could just touch this air. It's totally nuts. I'm even thinking, and I probably said this last time, but we record these episodes like a week or two ahead, and it's so palpable that we may not even be able to, I don't know, speak in public with that. But
yeah.
I'm like,
no, but really.
Yeah. So it is getting a little freaky, which is why it's so important to
revisit these works.
It's so important. Just read this book. Don't worry about doing anything else.
Honestly, read it while you can, because actually while I was in Washington, D.C., they were talking of removing pretty significant pieces of history from the museums there, which is it's not something that ever entered my realm of thought before, January.
It's completely bonkers. And I know what you're saying, because it's like bonkers, but then when you read stuff like the Women's Bible
from the 1800s.
From the 1800s, you're like, well, it's bonkers, but this has always kind of been written for anybody to pick up and take off with if they really wanted to take it to that extreme, and here we are.
I guess that's why it was so like with me while I was there. Because I was like, oh, these ladies, because they were in all those places. Actually, where we stayed in the hotel, I didn't make it. There was like a little memorial to some suffragists. Some fight happened. I wanted to make it there, but when you're there for 3 days, there's not time. But I will go back.
Yeah,
because it's all right there. Where actually, the meeting of Seneca Falls, New York, all that area.
Yes.
We need a road trip.
Have you been to Seneca Falls?
I have not.
I have. Oh. Yeah, and I still don't know anything.
That's okay.
No,
but you were there.
No, I mean I do, but it's just the more we get into this and the more I read, and I'm just like,
immersing ourselves.
It's
been nice.
Gals in America haven't been given a lot of historical information about,
especially I think our generation.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I guess all generations. Maybe before they were so busy. Because they didn't have a lot of rights. They didn't even have time to think about it. And then, we're 80s, late 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Where we felt like we had reached, the pinnacle of equality.
Right.
But now that I'm 50, I'm like, no, we didn't. I just didn't know enough.
The more you know.
The more you know, the depression hits harder.
The more you know, the more you suffer.
But
it's more. It's fun.
But my main thing is I'm glad that we're doing this, because I think it's important, and I think it's interesting, and I think it's super relevant, and it just has me thinking on many different levels, not just in the Bible, but just as the world, as a planet, as the future. It's all tied in, and I think maybe we could have a little peace and changing some perspective.
That's right. Can we change your perspective?
I hope so. Or at least give you more fodder for any arguments you're having. And you could say, I'm listening to this podcast about the Woman's Bible called Biting All the Apples. And I would like to share my knowledge with you. Right?
Yeah. You're like,
and I mean, that's what we're doing. So you don't have to read it because we're reading it for you, but
we're reading it for you. We've got extensive show notes. We've got all this.
And we do really side quests, so you get a little extra history notes. Because there's a lot of words in here that people don't use anymore.
We're like, there's a lot of words in this thing.
I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do, but a lot of times I'm like, definition of this word I never heard of.
Yeah.
And then it's always like some word that no one uses anymore, but it means something else that we do use.
We should try to use that in everyday conversation. Well, I think that especially more and more stuff that is coming out in this week, it's going to be so crazy by the time this airs. It'll be battier. But seeing the Christian nationalist influence on recent developments this week makes me even more glad that we're doing this.
Yeah. I don't know if our listeners have looked into Project 2025 or watch the news or try to avoid it like me, because I'm trying to shelter my I don't know if we're supposed to shelter our children, but I think it's important.
Would you make her sleep outside usually?
Yeah.
Or you
in a tent. I shelter her with like a tent. But just from the news, because my goodness, to be a young girl growing up and knowing, because I was completely oblivious as, I was probably oblivious until I was literally 25.
You did not have brothers growing up, though, right?
I did not.
Okay. That's a different podcast. Yeah. That's probably
why I was oblivious.
Yeah. Yes.
No brothers.
But when you have that in the home, because that's right where it starts.
Yeah, I just felt I had two strong grandmothers.
Sorry, I'm not saying my brothers were like jerks.
No,
I'm just saying the gender difference and how you're treated.
And I had a dad that had 3 girls, and girls ruled the house. I mean, like literally.
I thought you meant like in general. Yeah.
In my world, my 2 grandma. I didn't have grandfathers; they had passed. I mean, I did have grandfathers, but I not growing up. So my 2 grandmas, were the matriarchs. They both had jobs. They worked. They were independent.
No wonder.
Yeah. So I had 0. I'm like, yeah, things are great. Women can do whatever. I can do whatever I want.
And then the world just crushed your spirit. Oh my goodness.
As soon as I got out of my little village, I was like, oh, wow. There's a whole different world out here. Yeah. So it was an eye opener.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is a weird thing. But yeah, I really didn't become thoughtful about women's rights and things like that. Yeah. Till mid-20s.
Wow.
Which, yeah.
No, I say that where I'm like, well, not that that's that late.
I think
that's not even that late.
You had a different experience, but not even, that wasn't even women. That was just worldly things.
Yeah.
I just didn't think about things. I didn't know about the Sudan and all that. And I was teaching, and I taught in a school that had 32 languages, all these countries, right? And but I'm a young, naive, so I had a parent come in and he's like, I think I'm going to send him back to the Sudan. He's just not listening. And I'm like, yeah, tell him that. And then I go home. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
I go home that night and what happens to be on? But Black Hawk Down, the true story on PBS. And I am sweating and I'm like, we can't send him back there.
Oh my God.
What? Because they were showing me kids his age carrying machine guns, and they're giving him something to chew on that's like a drug. And I'm running to school, and I'm calling, and I'm like, I need you to come in.
I saw the documentary.
I do not know what I said, but that is a terrible idea. He needs to stay in Washington. State, different, but yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's how much I didn't, think about.
To be fair, there's a lot to know.
There's a lot to know. But
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yes. But that was wars and things like that. And this, in the Bible, apparently, since the beginning of time, humans, we just like to kill people.
I know.
Is that what you got out of this week?
Yeah.
That's my synopsis of my time off and into the Joshua Judges.
That was a masterful weaving of personal anecdotes.
Into war.
And, popular events back into war. Yeah, this is wonderful. I know that was my takeaway. I was like, dang, this is a lot of, very Old Testament-y.
Yeah. Just kill people.
So, yeah, let's talk about war.
I mean,
actually before that.
Oh, there is a little preface.
Yeah, we did have a little preface. So, the Woman's Bible was published in 2 parts.
Mm-hmm. I think they wanted to, as quickly as possible, get it out. Because remember, I think these revisionists, now, if you're looking at the reviews, the critic reviews, you can tell that the critics didn't think that it was really going to change anything. But I really think that they were hoping that people would read this and go, oh, yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Right.
Come on. We're even making it funny. It's a no-brainer. Let's revise it and move along.
Right.
But that didn't happen. So they got the first part out, and they're like, all right, selling like hotcakes. Bible not changing.
But it did sell. It sold a ton of copies. But it didn't change. The thing is, we can't say that it didn't change things. It didn't change all of Christianity, but it had to plant the seeds of
It definitely
revision
planted seeds. If it's a
stuff.
bestseller, it definitely planted. And looking at the reviews, I mean, people were reading it and they were talking about it.
People were reading it. So there's a short preface to part 2. And I think it is, I like how she talks about why she titled the book The Women's Bible. And I'm glad because, we've been out and we're trying to tell people about this podcast. And I got to tell you, the Bible it's not a real interest grabber. I don't know why. I don't know, reading these sections, these very short pieces. And they're like,
I don't know why.
We're like, but no, it's the women's Bible. And people are still like, it's a tough sell.
It is.
But we're working on it. But did you get that out of this where she's talking about why she called it the women's Bible or no?
Well, I think no, I don't know what you're going. I don't know, actually, Sarah. I don't know. I have zero idea. Why?
I have no idea either.
Okay, well, can I?
Well, when John Stuart Mill wrote his Subjection of Women, there was a great outcry against that title. He said that it proved to be a good one. The critics said it will suggest to women that they are in subjection and make them rebellious. That, said he, is just the effect I wish to produce.
Woo-woo!
That's why she's calling it the Women's Bible. It's like a in-your-face.
We're gonna give the women their props finally.
That's right.
I love it.
And she brings up, speaking of a rabbit hole, if anybody wants to go down this, she mentions Rider Haggard's She was denounced so universally that everyone read it to see who she was. So calling this the Women's Bible, it was a marketing tactic. These are smart ladies.
They are smart ladies.
So this fella, Rider.
Did you look him up?
Oh, yeah.
I love
you. Would never get, it's Rider Haggard's She. There's probably people out here that know this. Sir Henry Rider Haggard, KBE, which means Knight Commander of the British Empire, was a sci-fi writer.
Back then?
I know, but have you not learned that Victorian times were hopping? There's people were doing crazy, progressive.
They were thinking,
wild. They were thinking. It was like the thinking times. Yeah, I totally want to check this out. It's the novel She, A History of Adventure.
I love that.
The title refers to Aisha, a mysterious white... Oh, maybe I don't want to read this.
Oh, no, is it bad? Why? Aisha.
I don't know. This sounds sus.
Is it scandalous?
Well, it sounds
1800s
very white. In Rider Haggard's novel, She, A History of Adventure, the title refers to Aisha, a mysterious white queen who rules a lost African kingdom.
Oh, what?
Or is it Aisha, known as she who must be obeyed, as a powerful figure, both alluring and frightening? This does sound a little bit
she's like a god,
dudes.
right?
Yeah.
It's basically she's the god.
Yeah. The novel explores themes of female authority, exploration, and the complexities of Victorian attitudes towards race and empire. Right. Okay, wait, maybe I do.
What?
Sounded
Rider Haggard. I
take
like
that
it.
back. Take that back. All right.
I like it. Well, yeah, that's a great... So they marketed the book well by thinking about things like this dude.
Yeah.
And obviously they're readers too, because they reference a bunch of people in this section, a bunch of people that are either authors or revisionists themselves, scholars, I guess, Bible scholars.
Yes.
But I picked out from the front, because before the preface is actual reviews of the Women's Bible that were printed in papers and publications. So they referred to them, and I don't know, I think it is Elizabeth here in the front that does the whole preface. Yep. She says, another clergyman says that our book is the work of women and the devil. But listen to her response. She's like, good. Thank you, clergyman, for writing that. So this is her. I just love her. She's so spicy. She says, this is a grave mistake. His Satanic Majesty was not invited to join the revising committee, which consists of women alone. Moreover, he has been so busy of late years attending synods, general assemblies, and conferences that prevent the recognition of women delegates that he has had no time to study the languages and higher criticism. She's like,
oh, man.
She's like, he's the work of the devil. And then she calls him his Satanic Majesty. I just love her. Like,
I know.
I love her.
I know. I'm like,
she's like,
just imagine though.
Criticize my book.
She has biting wit. Imagine if you were on the wrong side of her.
Oh, yeah.
Though. That's why I told you. When one of her, like we said, the little stain on her time, when she wanted to go ick, she could do it.
Oh, she could do it. Yeah, I would not want to make her mad. I bet some of those young women were like, I bet some of those suffragists that turned on her.
Yes.
She might have had some thoughts. I'm guessing that's totally made up in my own head. I like to make up stories about.
You know what, though?
Even everyday people that I see in the grocery store. So just be aware.
Be aware.
I have your whole
Fact
lifetime
check everything.
just by watching you pick out your cereal.
So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get my act together. In the preface, it answers some of the criticisms from the first. It's great. It's sassy. I like this line where she says, the only difference between us is we say that these degrading ideas of women emanated from the brain of man, while the church says that they came from God.
Yeah.
That's all she's saying.
That's all she's saying. It's like the truth. Like, come on. We've read all these things. We got all these scholars saying, guys, come on, think about this. Do you think that really happened?
Yeah.
It's a story. But, it's a story with a lesson. Why can't we just say that?
Exactly.
Why can't we just say it?
And she goes on, and this is so, and the more, you learn about the 1800s, and this is, they're into like, either they're coming out, they're going into like, I'm like, I can't remember the timing, rationalism, science, progress, thinking. They're thinking. And so she goes into talking about this great work of a history of the warfare of science with theology. And so that's what people were struggling with there, because science was starting to take over in industry. But
the people were afraid, like, what that would do for their livelihood, right?
Absolutely. Their livelihood.
Still are.
And their...
Now it's AI.
I feel like fear is a very common theme for a lot of stuff. And the last thing, she's just talking about how valuable science can be. Surely the immutable laws of the universe can teach more impressive and exalted lessons than the holy books of all the religions on earth. Yeah.
Yep. And basically her thing is, the time has come to read the Bible as we do all other books, accepting the good and rejecting the evil that it teaches. It's that easy.
Simple. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. What the heck? Part 1 should have been it.
Like, what the heck? I'm telling you what, before our next episode, I'm going to read up more so I don't sound so dim about the Victorian era. I mean, I know I covered up really well and sounded like smart, but I was like, there's just a lot to know.
There's a lot of history.
Because then I went down, the Nikola Tesla rabbit hole, and there's a lot. Listen, there's so much going on.
And there's so much access to knowledge thanks to technology. Thanks, science and technology. What the heck?
Let's move on to shit'em.
I know. Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. Oh my God. I just died laughing.
I'm gonna grow up.
No, you're not.
Okay.
It's funny. Look at this. I just want to show you. Look at the only word I highlighted.
You better not.
Shit'em. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out a shit'em.
Now,
which is a great saying.
What if it's pronounced shaitan?
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm reading it.
We can start our podcast.
It's our podcast.
The new title is, Sarah, Kaye, and Joanna pronounce stuff however the F they want.
Because we're women.
That's right. Women power. Our mouths are uncircumcised.
But shit'em actually is, this is one thing I did look up. It's an acacia tree. So there's a lot of acacia.
Oh, really?
In that area, yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I think it's in some vitamins is how I know it. Acacia. It's like a...
Is it like the
I think it's
acai
like...
berry?
I think so.
Acai?
Yeah. Maybe it's... Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Acai. When you're sick, you take it.
Oh my
I don't know.
God. When you're
sick,
you take it.
You know what I'm saying?
So it's like a NyQuil tree. So we're in the book of Joshua. This is
not Joshua Tree.
Yeah, not Joshua Tree. The book of Joshua.
A shit'em tree.
Did you?
I'm sorry. I'm a child.
Okay. We are all children.
I'm back.
Of him. So the book of Joshua in the Women's Bible, they only have a little bit of commentary. They just take a couple little sections, and it's just Elizabeth on this. And when we go into the book of Judges, I'll introduce you some of our new ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Joshua.
Talk to us about this guy.
Joshua followed Moses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird. Again, this is where I think probably they're like, a man probably wrote this because he performed like the same miracle as Moses. They're like, we need another Moses. Let's just do this again. Even parted the waters of Jordan and let people pass through the Red Sea. Is this weird? I did not know this.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. And it only took him 7 years to get into Canaan. And there's only 2 women in this book mentioned.
Yep.
Right?
Okay, but just backing up. So essentially the book of Joshua is like when Hollywood has like a really big success with one movie. And they're like, oh, yeah, that one was rocking.
Oh, they're like, ooh, people like that.
People like that. They like
that Moses.
They like that parting sea.
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
Parting sea.
Yeah, okay.
Do it again.
All right, yep.
Do it better. But he did it better.
Yeah, he did it better.
He did do it better.
Yeah. So
because, of course, you're not going to have part 2 and have it be less than Moses, I would think.
And we have another. So there are only, that's what Elizabeth says. She's like, there's mention of only 2 women in this book.
Sadly.
Yeah. And that's, there's a casual reference to the daughters of Zelophehad? Zelophehad?
Sure. I mean, Shittim.
From the daughters of Shittim.
Zelophehad. I couldn't say any of the names. I got to be honest. And I wasn't going to look them all up.
I looked up some. But plus, I'm like, that's the fun of this. Isn't this so fun to mispronounce sacred text?
I mean, it's just names. And then I think it's funny you got Deborah. you got
yeah. And they're like, and Barb.
Zelophehad and Deborah.
We're like, here we go.
Anyway.
So these women come and help Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
What do? They go and help. Rahab was supposed to be a great sinner. It's another story about how women are called upon to use their witchy ways to help dudes or to help the masses. And once again, they save the day. But I just can't remember what happened.
But they aren't given credit. Rahab was supposed to be a great sinner, and her life was questionable because she was hanging out with the Israelites. But I thought the Israelites were the chosen people.
I know, that's what I'm like, we're struggling. So when the woman took the 2 men and hid them and said, thus there came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. That's what it says in the fucking book. And I don't know how we got from that type of shit to current day America. Sorry, I just went on a tangent, but like, what? This doesn't even make any sense.
Well, honestly.
So she helps him like hide these dudes. That's my point. Let's get to this.
Yeah, they use her to hide. Yeah.
Really, the only reason we're talking about the Bible part of this is to get to the sassy Victorian ladies. So let's just don't
skip to the sassy
Don't
ladies.
listen to us struggle with that shit. It is interesting to see that in all national emergencies, leading men are quite willing to avail themselves of the craft and cunning of women, qualities uniformly condemned when used for their own advantage. So once again, when women can be the tricksters or successfully hide some men in a tent or whatever Rahab did.
Yeah. It's hard to tell because like you're getting a portion of Joshua, you're not getting the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to guess. Basically, you got this guy that's leading people, but he needed the women to save the day. And he needed them to be kind of crafty, cunning.
And they were. But if women are crafty and cunning with their own ideas, like of their own volition, they're like, I think I want to go do this. They're like, you're evil and unclean.
I don't like that.
And this is the other part that I really love. There's no more significance, as one of our critics says, in commenting on the myths of the Bible than on Aesop's fables.
Yeah.
The difference, however, is this, that in the latter case, we admit that they were written by a man, while in the former, they are claimed to have been inspired by God. I think I just repeated the other quote. I mean, it's not
the
similar
same
thing.
But it's the same thing. Yeah, they're basically, it's a myth. It would be fine. Read it as a book, but don't say that this comes from God. Like, come on.
Though at variance with all natural laws, it is claimed that our eternal salvation depends on believing in the plenary is hyphenated, inspiration of the myths of the scriptures. Like it says, the myths of the scriptures, as the higher criticisms written by learned scholars and scientists are not familiar to women. Our comments in plain English may rid them of some of their superstitions.
And I love that they say plain English.
That's right, plain English.
It's plain 1800s English, which isn't always plain.
I know, because it's got
some words in it that I did have to look it up. You know what I mean? But yeah, so they were like, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to put it in plain English, and you're going to see the ridiculousness of it.
This is where the sonic warfare comes in.
Oh, sonic
right?
warfare.
And again, they're only using like this is Joshua 11 through 14, or Joshua 10, 11 through 14. It doesn't describe everything, but apparently they had to go fight their enemies of some kind. And he was like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to get a bunch of trumpets.
Oh, yeah, this idea is so terrible.
It works, right?
I know. In the story.
In the story, it works. And so they have a bunch of trumpets and people shouting, right?
Yeah. So I think they're going into Canaan, right?
That's right. So the battles with the Canaanites. Sorry.
Anytime they go in anywhere, they got to kill all the people so they can take over the land.
Right. The best way to kill people.
War.
Yeah. The best way to kill people is with trumpets. Everybody knows that. You get some trumpets, and then you also get a bunch of people.
Simultaneously blast their trumpets.
And I think they had them shout a lot, right?
Yep. A violent concussion of the air that brought down the city.
See? And it worked.
Loud trumpets.
And we're supposed to believe that is
well, the
true.
way that she prefaced that story, she said, according to the sacred fabulist.
Yes.
I love that too.
Yeah.
She could have said storyteller. No. Sacred fabulist. I'm going to use these words.
I know. Well, fabulous is just, it's a fabulous word.
According to
fabulous.
the sacred
Joshua
fabulist.
surpassed Moses in the wonders which he performed. So he used even more like pyrotechnics, and he used like the sonic warfare, which is ridiculous, but I like it.
But no, the other thing that I noted is that not only did he do those things, but the Lord would listen to him and do even more crazy stuff for him.
That's right.
I loved it.
Tell it.
So they were calling, and he said, "Bring on the hailstones." And I've been in a hailstone, but I never killed anybody with a hailstone.
Yeah.
So God, being the loving guy he is, was like, sure, send down some hail, killed a bunch of people, and then he made the sun not go down for a whole day.
What?
I want to do that.
I know.
I know you and I
never happens anymore.
I know you and I have both seen a total eclipse of the sun.
Ooh, girl. Totality. Dude. I know. It's mind-blowing.
Life-changing. So imagine if the sun just didn't go down, unless they magically went to Alaska real quick.
Yeah.
Or like anywhere
in
that parallel.
Or Norway.
Sweden. Yeah. I'm going to go back a little bit because it says...
Yeah, back it up.
The wonder is that women themselves, reading this book, basically, should either believe such unholy proceedings were inspired by God or to make fetish, which is just fetish.
But I like that better. Sorry.
Of the very book which is responsible for their civil and social degradation. Ooh. So that's the wonder. The women revising this are just like, okay, you're reading this with me now. Ladies, this is my curiosity. How do you believe these unholy proceedings were inspired by God when they're telling everybody we shouldn't have any rights, ladies? Ladies. And it's directly to the ladies.
Yeah. This is right at the ladies.
Citizens, my ladies, my women.
Let me hold your hand with a napkin.
Come with me and stop holding on to this book.
That's right.
And believe in these things that are obviously written by the hand of a man holding us down. I don't know why I'm becoming Southern.
Because, I don't know. Maybe you got a little bit of that Lily Devereaux in it.
I do. They are Southern. Were they Southern?
Some of them were. Not many.
Okay.
Not many. The North and South were still having a time.
Having a little
This
time.
was in the late 1800s, but rough go. Go. So
Joshua,
that's what we're talking about. They're like,
Joshua's
this is
Moses 2.0.
2.0.
Lots more
fabulism.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is practically Aesop's fables. This is, metaphor. If you look at it that way, it's kind of cool. But again, Elizabeth is like, why do they hate, witches and sorcerers as much? So she says
she even mentions Christian scientists. They had them back then. Is that Scientology?
Oh, yeah. They had like all kinds of religions.
Is that Scientology though? Or is that
no, not at all.
Christian scientists?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know why I got so excited. I'm like, no.
Okay.
Never. So, though teaching the people that all these fables are facts, still the church condemns, what is this?
Magicians.
This says,
I looked it up.
Magicians. Thank you. Okay, thank you for that help. The church condemns magicians, soothsayers, fortune tellers, spiritualists, witches, and the assumptions of Christian scientists. So they condemn that, but they're like, but just trust us about the trumpets.
Yeah. Joshua, that thing happened.
Yeah.
That's the real deal.
So
It seems that the Lord was so well pleased with Joshua's refined military tactics that he suspended the laws of the vast solar system to vindicate the superior prowess of one small tribe on the planet called Earth. I love her.
Oh my God,
I love her.
so
She's like
sassy.
She's like, "Dear Joshua, give me a break. I've done a lot of things for the Lord, and I have yet to have him stop the earth spinning for me."
Just for one little tribe.
Yeah, I love her.
But you can see what, yeah.
No one's ever. I've prayed for hailstones to fall on some people that everybody knows, and it's yet to happen.
The rest of Joshua, I was like, meh. Right? For their comments. There's really short section that I've drug out because I forgot what the story was.
Well, it is a short section, but interesting because I actually didn't know that there was a Moses point too, and they do the exact same thing. It's kind of weird. I'm like, I thought they were saved, but no, they got to go back in and go through the Red Sea and everything.
I had no idea about any of this.
She says, it is fair to infer that Moses did not fully comprehend the message in proclaiming it to the great assembly, and he gave his own interpretation of when the Lord said to him, "When a father dies, leaving no sons, the inheritance shall go to the daughters." He must have misinterpreted it, just as our judges do in the year of the Lord of 1898.
Ooh!
Yeah, she's like, he was great, and we are reading more about like who gets what in Joshua, and again, women get this. I'm surprised you skipped this part.
No, I'm like,
no, the girl in this story, a daughter to wife, gets passed on, and her father, it came to pass, and she came unto him and moved him to ask of her father for a field, her husband, and she lighted off her ass, and Caleb said unto her, "What wouldest thou?" But basically, she's getting an inheritance from her father, which eventually would go to her husband.
Yeah.
And so that's why she's like, Moses probably misinterpreted it just as our judges do today in 2025.
She's always digging. Just like she was doing digs at the people going to Congress and stuff right there. She's like,
Yeah, because she has
these
done
high
all this
and mighty
stuff.
gentlemen. I noticed that here's where, and I think there's something a little bit later, I think it might be in Judges, which is like, she flat out, she says, the fundamental ideas of the Protestant religion and the Republican government. And I was like, oh, that's right. She's Protestant.
Oh, no, that's still in Joshua there.
Yeah, but I mean, she goes further in Judges where I was like, oh, she's flat out very waspy.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we knew this, but, well, I'll get into that in a second, but we have.
You got some waspy notes?
Oh, yeah, I have some wasp notes.
I want to hear your waspy notes.
Maybe not. Maybe we don't want them, but I mean,
We have to. It's our job.
It is our job. This is what we have been hired. We've been directed by the same forces that directed Moses and Joshua.
And later, we are parting the Red Cedar.
That's right. We are totally.
The Red Cedar River will be parted.
We are going to do that.
On Sunday in the year of our Lord, 2025. It's a small part of the Cedar River, and only you and I are invited. And then we'll write it down.
Okay, so we wrapping up Joshua. No?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
She's like, Joshua, he was this guy, he's Moses 2.0. You already get it. We already told you these were fairy tales.
Yeah. Basically, and like, ladies, come on, knock it off.
Problem.
They're using us.
Yeah.
And they only use our cunning wit when it's to their benefit. And then we're not even given the credit we deserve.
It's like, it's not that they're repeating the same thing every chapter, but there's just different variations of it.
Different variations. It goes on and on. So which probably makes it really easy for the canon law to say, no, you need to be a lower species.
Yeah.
We have the species of man, and then we have
the
woman. The woman.
I know. So I'm like, give me a break. But again, with the property and the inheritance stuff. So we're gonna
dabble our toe into
we're just gonna dip our toe in
Judges.
Chapter 1 Judges, because I did want to. Judges is way more exciting.
It is. I like Judges
than Joshua. And we're not saying that the actual like Bible Joshua, we don't really totally know because I just read summaries of the Bible and then just whatever they picked, and they did not pick that many passages from Joshua. But for Judges, which is way more interesting, because it's not a sequel or a repeat or a remake.
No.
So, chapter 1.
Judges.
We're going to go Judges.
Yeah. This book is supposed to have been written by Samuel the prophet. Covers a period of 300 years. All right. And the children of Israel are just always fighting with each other. Also not really making peace with the Lord even. They're either fighting with their neighbors or they're fighting with the Lord this whole time is her take on it.
Yeah, there's a ton of fighting.
So basically they are fighting with each other and they don't sound like great people is kind of what she gets at.
That's why they have to write this stuff in the Old Testament. Like the book of Judges is more about getting people in line. This is about obedience.
Because they're terrible.
Yeah.
And you're just always fighting.
I know. And that's why, you will not have to fight so much if you just
listen to my rules.
Yeah, you got to listen to the rules. And the passages they pick first, just a couple passages in Judges 1 and 2. The last one says, in Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died being 110 years old.
Yeah, 110.
Yeah, sure.
Why did she? 110.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, how?
They say the Mediterranean diet is the healthiest.
That's true.
So,
and they were walking a lot. It's not like they sat on their butts in front of a computer screen.
That's right.
But for some reason, I don't.
I know.
Maybe. I just didn't read it. But I didn't read a lot of things in my history books.
And they talk about...
That's all I'm saying.
And even the stuff I do read, I forget, as you can tell where I space out here. I'm like, so what does these guys do? So he has great force. He's got iron chariots.
Yeah. And in the opening of Judges, Joshua is still governing. I don't know if is he governing as a 109-year-old?
Yeah.
We got off on, we went all over Joe Biden. He's only, 80 what? Can you imagine Joshua?
I feel like you could stand Joshua up next to Biden and Joshua would win.
Even at 110.
Yeah.
Probably. Blow him right over.
Yeah. So we got the iron chariots. Oh, and so Joshua, he let the people go. The children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance, and they possessed the land.
Yeah.
So obviously they have land to protect.
Judges are where the men finally, it becomes like a spicy novel, a romance novel.
It really does.
For men only, because the women can't pick. But if you're a good-looking woman and you're in Judges, you got a lot of power.
Yeah, and that's what Elizabeth talks about. The most important feature of this book is the number of remarkable women herein described. 6 in number. Not going to get all these names right.
Don't even try
Asha.
It. Yeah.
Deborah. Jael. Jephthah's daughter. Delilah.
Yeah, look that's not even a name. Jephthah's daughter. And then Delilah.
I can't wait to know the real pronunciation of that. And Delilah, and 2 whose names are not mentioned. She who slew that guy.
Ambielek.
Yeah, and there's more concubines of a Levite.
And in case you don't know what a concubine is, because, if you're not a religious person or don't watch Handmaid's Tale, just could be a second wife. Could be just someone you brought along to have your babies because your wife wasn't ready to have a baby. Basically, it sounds like you're a piece of farm equipment.
Yeah, this is not.
Anyway.
This is when I was like, oh, I don't know about. We've read some other kind of questionable things about how they mention the Jews, and that's why the paragraph above that I was like, oh Lord.
Yeah, but I think that's just how but it's the Jewish people. I've just kind of been changing that in my head.
But this is, I'm gonna read this sentence.
And you think it's derogatory?
Not my, well, yeah.
Let's not let
it. It is.
If they had.
If the Jews of our day had followed this tendency of their ancestors and intermarried with other nations, there would have been by this time no peculiar people to persecute.
Because we'd all be mixed, right? That's what I got out of that. Well, I just, so people were looking for a certain type of women, but then they also couldn't mix between countries or whatever. I don't even know if they're countries. This sounds more like states. They're so close. But they, at that time, still desired to mix, right? Mm-hmm. And they did. People that wanted to did. And so she was saying if we would have just let that happen, maybe we would all be beige now.
Oh, okay. Well, you're nicer.
I don't know. That's what I am a little bit of a Pollyanna.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. What do you think?
I think, especially knowing some of the other things I know about Elizabeth, is they're coming from this, America's still really new, even though these people are like Freedom America. I think they're very still into like the aristocracy and like the hierarchy of Protestant white people.
Yeah.
That's not as fun as the other funny stuff.
But
I
it's
thought
in there.
I would say that, though, because one of these days we're going to get a listener that's like, listen.
This lady.
So anyways, putting that out there. But she speaks with such passion about, again, how women are treated in the Bible. She talks about the strong. Actually, I don't like that term, strong women. The strong women. She doesn't say that. Notice that Victorian women don't say that bullshit. They don't. They're not like, and the strong, empowered women. Like, they don't say that.
They don't.
Get Victorian. Just
Go
get
back.
whatever. There are many instances in the Old Testament where women have been thrown to the mob like a bone to dogs to pacify their passions, and women suffer today from these lessons of contempt taught in a book so revered by the people.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, so it gets all snotty there.
Yeah.
Now, in the next response, which I think there's some very valuable stuff, this contributor, let me look her up. CBN. Are you familiar with her?
I'm not. I just highlighted her name and was like, Sarah's going to know those initials.
So she is the one, CBN, Clara B. Nyman.
Ooh.
She's a New York suffragette and a member of the Free Thinkers. If you want to go down another rabbit hole.
I want to go on the free thinkers rabbit hole.
Free thinkers tended to be liberal, espousing ideals such as racial, social, and sexual equality and the abolition of slavery.
Ooh.
The golden age of free thought in the U.S. came in the late 1800s. And the dominant organization was the National Liberal League, which formed in 1876 in Philadelphia. If you look more, and I'll even put some more stuff in the show notes, but it's really interesting. And I think that it eventually it fades out. The article I read was kind of like, and then free thinking faded. And I was like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
But
someone got mad.
Yeah,
threw some hailstones at those free thinkers.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were all
like,
gone.
we don't like that. But it is true. Traditionally, free thinkers or atheists or agnostics, those people cannot be controlled. So there is rarely a hospitable place for them.
Do you think maybe we're at the precipice of almost becoming a free thinking?
I think that is a deep thought question that I have deep thought about.
I feel like we're on the precipice of a revolution, and I would like it to be the free thinking kind.
Here's the question. Is that possible on a large nation scale, though? Because it seems
it's going to be a struggle, but as you read in the Bible, all things are.
But to have like free thinkers with like a lot of people.
I think if it was done correctly, it could happen.
Well, by using a book to control them?
Not a book.
Like a Bible?
No, it's going to be more, this is the thing. I think it's going to be more community. Like, you know how we're gathering in the streets now, some of us, and you're talking and you're, meeting people and you're talking about what makes people's lives better. And I think if we could get away from the confines of religion, because I feel like not just one religion, all religions have the same basic core, which is supposed to be how to treat your neighbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then people that want power come in and they convolute it all. And if we could just, as a community out in the streets, go, well, I know that you like what Jesus said and you like what Buddha said, and I like that too. Can't we just all just practice that without giving our money to a church? And then everybody's going to sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. I like that. I'll sign up.
Universe. Kumbaya, the universe. Because we're floating in space. Yeah. As you told me.
Right.
Katy Perry went there. As soon as you see.
Yeah. Just get everybody up in a rocket.
We all go in a rocket. We see how small the rock is we're floating on. And we're like, oh, we don't need religion.
Just need love.
We
and
need
a flower.
Love.
Yeah, okay.
And love the planet. And then we're gonna go free thinking.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I'm into it. But I feel like we could do a whole nother thing on that, because that is something that I thought about, because you're really relying on nobody ever getting power hungry.
I know. Why can't we do this? Well, there are ways
There are ways. There are ways. I'm like, and that was a bump. So yeah, free thinkers, look them up. Look them up, the free thinking movement. And of course, it's another thing that became popular in the 1800s. The 1800s keep on coming back up in a bajillion different things.
I know, but you know what hurts my brain is that, that saying, if you don't learn history, you're doomed to repeat it. Here's the thing. Everybody knows a little bit of history, and we keep repeating it.
Well, nobody ever.
Who wrote that quote?
Let me tell you what I want to go down
thing
that, is.
I want to go down that rabbit hole.
Is most people, it's called normalcy bias. When you're in the middle of stuff, it is very hard to recognize that there's stuff happening. It's not so like people. Like,
am I
if we
not
look
normal?
Back at
Is that why I'm seeing it? Are you not normal?
I'm definitely not normal.
Okay.
But I mean, it is very, I shouldn't say normal people, but it's common for people because you can look back at even recent atrocities, from the 30s and the 40s, 50s and 60s and
yesterday.
70s, yesterday. And you're like, how did this happen? And how did these people let this happen? And you can almost guarantee that a good portion of the people didn't think shit was going down, even when it was going down. That's my explanation.
That's why Joshua can come in and see a hailstorm and go, "Hey guys, I just prayed for this.
Yeah,
don't let those people inside." So they fall on him and kill him. But I mean, again, I think that's a story. I don't think anybody died in the hailstorm.
Okay. Nobody there. So back to Clara and her comments on this first part of Judges. She says the writer of the book of Judges is unknown, and Professor Moore of Andover.
Oh, I'm like Andor.
Andor. That would be cool.
Andor.
Theological Seminary supposes that the author used a basis for his work, an older collection of tales wherein the heroes of Israel and the varying fortunes of the people were related, in which, like all good tales, pointed to a moral. So again, we have that.
I like morals.
Cool.
Morals are important.
That's cool. This gal, Clara's great writer. It is not obedience to the inner truth of the individual soul that is made the spring of action, but obedience to an external authority, to a book, to a prophet, to a judge, or to a king. Yes.
Dang the kings.
I know. And that's why it's important that they point out, this is probably a collection of previous tales, which also might be why there's women featured prominently in this particular book of the Bible.
The Bible.
Yeah, because like you said, you got if it's like a Aesop's Fables, you got to have some Aesop's. I was gonna be like, how it's so romantic in Aesop's Fables.
Yes, sure.
But that's why you can tell, just knowing that Clara Naiman was part of the free thinkers, you can tell she has really interesting viewpoints of it. So
yeah, she talks about Christianity in particular, which I find interesting.
Go for that.
Because she said at no time in the world's history has a woman maintained the high position which she commands today in the hearts of the best and most enlightened. That means today, 1890s, right? Which means she was like, we're doing good. People respect us. But there were stages when her independence was an assured fact. With Christianity came the notion of a man's dual nature. The physical was looked upon as sinful. The earth was merely preparatory for a life beyond. Women, as the mother of the race, was not honored and revered as such. And the monistic one God idea of being considered more godlike, she was made the instrument of sin. To be born into this life was not a blessing so long as
asceticism,
avoiding
indulgence.
Yes, ruled supreme. So being obedient to God, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
again,
so she said
external authority.
So it was with Christianity that came this problem.
But the external authority overriding internal thoughts and feelings and desires is not helpful for an individual, but it is very helpful for people trying to control masses.
Yeah.
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 And I don't think we need to be controlled. I think we're all, of all the humans I meet, there's very few that need to be controlled.
Right.
There's not a lot.
There's not a lot. And that's why Clara says the Bible has been of service in some respects, but the time has come for us to point out the evil of its many teachings. She flat out says the evil of its many teachings. Yes. It now behooves us to throw the light of a new civilization upon the women who figure in the book of Judges.
Let's go, ladies!
Yes!
And I do think we should stop here because she's going to talk about the first woman of good sense, but you're going to hear about a lot of ladies next week.
Yeah, that's right. I think that is a good stop.
Isn't that a good stop? Because this book of Judges, little tasty taste, is going to, they finally talk about women quite a bit. And there's some pretty interesting stuff in there.
And we have that coming.
Coming to you.
We're like, you better believe it.
Yeah, because they're actually very smart women in the Bible back then. And men relied on us and needed us.
Next week, we're just gonna bring you the ladies. We are
All
going
the ladies, louder now, help me out. Come on, all the ladies.
Yeah, so we're going to finish up the book of Judges, and we have more contributors to talk about with that. The book of Judges and the book of Ruth. So it'll be like the ladies. It's going to be like the warrior ladies and the widow.
Yeah, and I know people love Ruth.
As in my grandma?
Just like Bible people.
Oh, Bible people. Yeah. It is a family name.
I love that. Ruth and Sara, you're so biblical.
I know. I'm like, I know.
You're like a biblical
It's so great. So
mishmash.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about women warriors and widows. So it'll be kind of like an HBO show. I love it. Yeah, it's going to be great.
I'm excited for Deborah.
Oh my, Deborah. We appreciate you listening. And of course, would never command you to do anything by threatening generations of your offspring.
Yeah, no. And we won't throw stones at you. We won't, never.
But if you have free will, why not use it to rate, subscribe, and share this podcast? We do need help getting the word out.
You got to share it.
Share it.
You love us? Share it. Like, subscribe, share. And my gosh, please do not miss our TikTok. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it is.
Because Sara, you're my hero.
Oh, wait, you're my hero.
Oh, I love your TikTok.
It's our TikTok.
I know, but you edit everything.
I know, well,
I'm not,
it is really
I'm just
fun.
a lowly teacher. I'm not techie. I actually just had to cut up a piece of paper to edit because someone was like, just edit that on this thing. And I was like, can I just cut it out and tape it?
You're tactile.
And that's what I did.
And that's what I did.
I'm not techie.
Using your internal authority.
My internal authority said, I'm not going to edit that on the computer.
That's right.
I'm going to snip, snip, tape, tape. But you, my friend.
That's right. But I've been editing some stuff and we have it on the TikTok and the YouTubes.
Oh, the YouTubes.
Oh, it's great.
I love the YouTubes.
Yeah. And be sure to check our show notes for extra info. I think this episode, I'm going to just go bonkers with the show notes.
Oh, dude.
I'm going to use up all the characters.
Ooh.
I think they let you do like 5,000 characters. And for how to send us a text or voicemail, there's still a little bit of room on our voicemail.
There is. I mean, it's
like
kind of
all of it. So, okay. Hang tough, fellow travelers.
See you next week.